Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, an emergency news video, my goodness. And what we're going to talk about today isn't necessarily news yet. This feels very much like earlier this year with the Lewis Hamilton Ferrari stuff, where it was massively reported everywhere as rumour, then all of a sudden it was true, like out of nowhere. So it's kind of happened again. But this time around Adrian Newey and the fact that it's looking like he's going to leave Red Bull. Now, this is continuing from the ongoing story of the Christian Horner accusations that have been going on since the start of the season. There's been many rumours of upset within the Red Bull team, and people such as Adrian Newey, who isn't very happy about it and is wanting to leave. And the big rumour today is that basically he is going to leave. It's been reported everywhere throughout the day. AMUS have been reporting it. BBC picked up on it. Now the likes of Autosport and Motorsport.com are picking up on it as well. I'm just reading through the Motorsport.com article now. This is what they've got to say. They say, Newey has decided to leave Red Bull after a 2-decade stint as the team's stalwart designer, playing an instrumental role in designing the cars that propelled Vettel and Verstappen to a total of 7 World Drivers' Championship and 6 Constructors' titles for the Red Bull team. The news of Newey's impending departure was first reported by German outlet Auto Motor und Sport and has since been confirmed to motorsport.com by sources with knowledge to the situation. Despite only signing a fresh deal with Red Bull last year, Newey's future at Milton Keynes has been subject to intense speculation in the recent weeks. Red Bull is still embroiled in an ongoing internal power struggle between the Thai side of the business, which supports team principal Christian Horner, and the Austrian side, including team advisor Helmut Marko. Let's keep on going through there. Newey is understood to be unsettled by the Red Bull situation and the saga around Horner, which has led to the shock decision to inform the team management that he has decided to walk out. The news presents a huge blow to Red Bull, which is currently cruising to another World Championship with Verstappen, in the dominant RB20. So there you go. That is the speculation as of right now, that he has handed in his notice and is very happy to leave Red Bull. And now that brings the next big question of what's next. Now, there has always been speculation around Adrian Newey and Ferrari. For decades, there's been speculation between Adrian Newey and Ferrari. He even confirmed in his book that they have had conversations before, but it never really worked out. My computer is giving us all the bleeps and bloops in the world right now. Yeah, but they have had conversations before, but it hasn't necessarily worked out. There's been speculations that he's been seen around Maranello in the last few weeks to build this super team, the Leclerc, Hamilton, Newey, Ferrari team to propel Ferrari back to the top of the championship. So Ferrari is definitely one that could be considered for the future of Adrian Newey. Another one in contention is Aston Martin. Now, Dan Fallows, who's currently the one of the designers over there, was the junior to Adrian Newey for many years in Red Bull, and we know that Aston Martin certainly aren't short of cash, and if Newey is more interested in staying in the UK, then Aston definitely is probably his best option there. So in terms of which teams are coming after him, those two seem to be the only real two who are rumoured at the moment, which goes to show really how far Mercedes have kind of fallen down the totem pole, that they're not even kind of questioned about there. No questions either of him returning to McLaren. Another option, though, that not people really are considering is that he could just retire. I mean, he's 65 years old now. He's been around Formula One since 1988. He's made a considerable amount of money, and yeah, he could just retire from the sport if that's what he wanted to do. This also coincides with a tweet from Thomas Mayer of Planet F1 at Thomas Mayer F1. Thomas Mayer on F1. There we go. He tweeted this not so long ago, actually, about 20 minutes ago, he said, well, this is interesting. Sources have told me that unless Newey plans on a shock announcement to suddenly retire from Formula One, there are no plans for him to go anywhere before the end of his current contract at the conclusion of 2025. Obviously, there's nothing stopping Adrian from resigning from Red Bull Racing if he wants to, and then just sitting on the sidelines until 2026 at the earliest. But there are no preparations being made for that possibility at present. So even though it looks like he is leaving Red Bull, it doesn't necessarily mean that he is going somewhere else at this point. He could very well just be sitting at home waiting out of his contract because he just doesn't want to be at Red Bull anymore. Either way, this is not great news for Red Bull. Whilst I don't think that Adrian Newey is the sole reason for Red Bull's dominance at the minute, he is definitely a big part of that. But also what we've got to look at is the other designer, Pierre Wache. I've never heard his surname pronounced, only ever written, Wache. He is also a big influence on the car, especially the current car. Like Adrian Newey apparently has spent 50-50 his time on the Formula 1 car and on the Red Bull hypercar. So I think Pierre has been the lead designer for the car for especially this year. So in terms of will this end Red Bull's reign at the top, I don't think it will. But if he was to go to an Aston or a Ferrari, it would definitely help them in competing against the Red Bull. Also, what's quite interesting about the timing of all this is really teams aren't going to be looking at making massive aerodynamic leaps in the 2025 season because the 2026 regulations are coming in, and basically speculation is that cars won't massively change throughout the 2025 season as everyone will be focused on the 2026 car. So will this slow down Red Bull this year or next year? No, I don't think it will. I think this plays even more into the big change-up that we're expecting to see come 2026, because if someone can get their engines right and be able to get an Adrian Newey on board, then from there they can have a pretty dominant car. For example, if it was Aston with their brand new Honda deal, Newey has been working with Honda for the last few years. He probably has a good relationship with them. If he was to come on board there, we could see a Fernando Alonso 2026 World Champion, or who knows, maybe even a Lance Stroll 2026 World Champion, thanks to Adrian Newey. But yeah, that is the big question around this, of where he's going to go next and what this means for Red Bull, and what does this mean for Christian Horner. It looked for a while like this story had maybe gone away. Maybe he'd gotten away with it. But if Red Bull's set to lose the greatest Formula 1 car designer of all time, and I don't think there is much argument around that statement that he is the greatest Formula 1 car designer of all time, if they were to lose him due to these allegations against Christian Horner, would that maybe make the Thai side of Red Bull think a little bit differently? Is Christian Horner more valuable to the Red Bull team than Adrian Newey? Personally, I would say no, he's not. But it's one of those things, we have to wait and see how it plays out. This would add fire, though, to the rumours of Max Verstappen's unhappiness. We heard those rumours quite a bit alongside the Adrian Newey rumours. Would Newey leaving push Max a bit more to want to leave as well? This is all kind of stirring this Christian Horner story up yet again. Really, I don't see this Horner story ending without him leaving Red Bull. And it's just, the real question is, how many people have to leave Red Bull before Christian Horner leaves Red Bull? Strangely, it reminds me quite a bit of Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson was an awful man who was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And everyone said after the whole Partygate, Boris, you should really resign from Prime Minister. This isn't a good look for you. And he was like, oh, no, I don't think I will. And he stayed as Prime Minister for a very long time. The reason he stepped down as Prime Minister was eventually everyone in his cabinet quit. And he couldn't do his job anymore because he didn't have a team. Will the same thing happen to Christian Horner? Well, this may be the first domino of many yet to fall in this story. And I feel like going back to how I said this is very similar to the Lewis Hamilton situation, I've just been refreshing Twitter on my phone all the time just to see what's happened next. Any new stuff coming about this. Has it finally been confirmed? I'm not too sure. But as soon as I know, I'll be back up here to talk about all of it, because this is huge for Formula One, especially if he does decide to join another team. So let me know what you think about this whole story. Personally, I am tending to believe it. I know it is just a rumour, but it's looking like it's highly likely. The big question being, what's next? Let me know what you think. I'll be back tomorrow on the channel with a proper edited video with scripts and stuff. I'm not just rambling. It'll be fantastic. Any more Adrian Newey stuff, I'll be back here to talk about it as soon as it happens. If not, back on Saturday for all the news, all the other news of the week. And there has been other news. You won't believe it. It'll be great. I'll see you then, though. Have a good one. Goodbye.